We've spoken about some of our favourite meta strikers in FM24, and today we're moving on to midfielders. Central midfielders in particular, and looking for those players that in the in-game engine absolutely tear it up. Whether they're just great going forward, really good defensively, or just huge physical presences that are good in both boxes. We've got players of all different kinds, different price points, picking out some of our favourites, but we want to hear yours as well. And we're actually starting with 5 honourable mentions. We've got a top 10 to look at, but I just wanted to list off these 5 fairly quickly. Players that I rate highly that maybe just miss out compared to some of the others. Patrick Berg was one of them. Norwegian, 25-year-old. So good because of his price point, really, I suppose, coming in at about 4 or 5 million. Brilliant in that defensive midfield area and wanted by 3 mid-table Premier League clubs there. He's great when it comes to the mental side of the game with the work rate, positioning, teamwork. He can tackle well whilst also being able to create a chance. If you're looking for this kind of profile of midfielder and you have a few £1,000,000 to spend, then the Norwegian from Bodo Glimt is not a bad choice. And another bargain choice is Alexander Pikhalionok, whose name I've probably absolutely butchered there. But the 26-year-old Ukrainian international is playing his football for Dnipro, and he has got some great creative attributes. Now, do I think he's one of the world's best midfielders? No. Do I think he should start for, say, a Manchester City? No. But for a mid-table Premier League team looking for a good bargain option, this guy could be a good level creator who can also hit a long shot, and he's pretty good both physically and mentally too. So it doesn't quite fit the bill for me, but still a great option. And the same goes for Mataszaracho, who's a 25-year-old Argentinian international playing for Brazilian side Atlético Mineiro. He's more of a goal scorer than the previous players, still has that creative ability, and mentally and physically, he's not too bad in those areas either. Great off the ball work and flair. He's going to create chances, he's going to score you goals. For 9 million, definitely a good pickup, but not quite making my top 10. And my final 2 honourable mentions are Fiorentina's Rolando Mandragora, who's an Italian international, can play as a 6 or further forward in that midfield area, wanted by AC Milan here, with very good attributes all around. A very well-balanced midfielder, certainly fits the bill of what I'm looking for in this video, but isn't quite as good as some of the others. But for 10 to 15 million, it's a very good price point for this level of talent. And finally, just missing out is Gerson Fernandez, who's a bit of a different type of midfielder, all action, physical, getting around the pitch, working hard, isn't the best when it comes to, say, goal scoring or passing, but he is a good defensive tackling machine. If you're after that kind of player, the Portuguese 24-year-old from Besiktas is definitely worth taking a look at. Didn't quite work for him in the Premier League for Tottenham a few years ago, but he's definitely now found his feet, and he's a very good, talented option if you want that kind of player in your side. And now it's time for 10 of my favourite midfielders. I'm taking into account price point, ability, sometimes even potential, and just generally how I've had experiences with them in the game so far. But do let me know, like I say, if you've got any other suggestions that should have been in this list. We might make a part 2. And if you do like FM content, then come check out my channel, which you can find linked in the description after this video is done. Over there, we post YouTube shorts about Wonderkids you might not have heard of, as well as some Football Manager rebuilds. So if that sounds interesting, I'd really appreciate the support over there. But let's get into my top 10. Now, I'm not going to order these players, but I will let you know when I've got a real specific favourite or 2 from this list. But Federico Rondo is a great option if you are working on a budget. And I say a budget, I don't mean Vanarama National League, but I mean, say, lower Premier League, maybe high-level Championship. If you've got 4 or 5 million to sprinkle around, this kind of player is a top talent. For Argentinos Juniors, he is a beast of a midfielder, very well-rounded, is 6'2" as well, which doesn't really mean much when we talk about heights, but, you know, always good to have a bit of a physical presence. He can smack a long shot, can create a chance, can tackle, and I've actually seen him score quite a lot of goals, despite his 8 finishing. I've had him in a few rebuilds before. Sometimes you can get him for really cheap, even a few seasons in. Sometimes he develops well, sometimes not so much. So worth scouting. He's only 20, so he's not necessarily guaranteed to be world class. But when he's at his best, this is genuinely one of the most elite midfielders in the game. If you're a top level team, then you might want to take a look at Kefram Turam here, who, if you've played FIFA in recent years, I believe he's been quite popular in the games over the last couple of years when they've given him special cards, because he's just an absolute beast of a midfielder. 6'4", strong, good in the air as well. He's also pretty quick. He can create a chance, as you you can see, with 15 passing. He's got 12 finishing, 15 dribbling, and 15 first touch. So, you know, he's going to go round a player, he's going to score goals, and he can throw in a tackle too. Very well balanced in all areas, likes to get into the opposition box. And whilst you can use him as a defensive midfielder, I think you are weakening his talents there. I would actually use him as a box-to-box. I love him in that role. I've used him a few times before, and the former Monaco player, now a French international, is definitely worth a signing for about 20-30 million pounds. On the opposite end of a spectrum though, a player that is all about potential is Sever Halsef Naipan, who, if you don't know this year, is just incredible. I've tried to mainly focus on guaranteed players in this video, so Wonderkids aren't included as often, but Naipan, for me, he just has to be in here. Even when he's not at his best potential in your saves, he will still be a world-class player when he develops. For a few £1,000,000 from Rosenborg, the 16-year-old is incredible. He'll develop a lot before you actually use him in your first team, at which point he'll have great passing ability, great scoring ability, everything you'd want from a midfielder, he will have. So scout him, see how he gets on, and make a move for him when you can. A player on the later end of his career, though, is Frederic Xiao, who's actually not too old. He's only 27, and his name probably isn't pronounced like that now that I've said it out loud. It doesn't quite sound right. Either way, though, this Norwegian midfielder can play pretty much anywhere on the pitch, but mainly as a central midfielder. £20 million is the fee it will cost to get this versatile player, formerly of Feyenoord and Mulder, who's got incredible attributes across the board, particularly physically and mentally, where he's so good in so many areas. He's going to run up and down for you all day long, 20 natural fitness, 17 stamina, great work rate, teamwork, positioning, decision-making, determination, concentration, and technically, he's also pretty good too. You think he's going to be weak there? No, he's not. He's great in all areas, a top-level midfielder, but Benfica won't let him go easy because he is just such a good talent. Like I say, I have mainly focused on players who are over the age of 21, but there's a couple more players in this list I just have to talk about. One is Asan Udrego, who's 17 years of age and is one of those, is definitely one of my favourites. I've had him in a couple of rebuilds. You can often get him super cheap from Schalke straight away, valued at about £8 million here, but Schalke within a few months in your save will likely go into administration. At least that's what I had to deal with in a rebuild, meaning they have to accept very low fees for their players, and it means Udrego can be picked up at a bargain price. 6'3", so good in so many areas, physically, mentally, and technically. The boy's got the lot. You can see his talent on screen right now. I don't have to talk about him too much, but if you haven't tried him, make sure you do at some point before FM24 is done. 5 players left though, and we have 10 Coupon miners as our next player. Atalanta midfielder, Dutch international, number 7 for his club, formerly of AZ Alkmaar. He's been so good in his time at Atalanta, attracting the interest of lots of big clubs from around the world. And if you're a big club in FM, 30, 40 million, it's a lot of money, but for this kind of player, you are getting your money's worth. He's natural in all 3 of those central midfield slots. Now, you could play him quite far forward because of his attacking ability, but I think as a creator, a deep line playmaker behind your midfield, making everything tick along, if you can get him to dictate tempo, maybe add a player trait to him in training, he has got the lot. Physically, everything you'd want in a player. Mentally and technically, it's exactly the same. He can hit a set piece, hit a long shot, penalties, free kicks, he's on the lot. He's going to be your talisman in your side if you pick him up. Can genuinely play for the biggest clubs in the world very comfortably. Atalanta have got a gem, and I don't think he'll be at that club for too long if he continues this trajectory. Gerson's an interesting one because I often find he can be a real good pickup, particularly a couple years in. I've found him quite cheap. He's a 26-year-old Brazilian international playing for Flamengo out in the Brazilian divisions when you start your save. Once again, he's a very well-rounded player, which tends to really help in the in-game engine this year. Physically, mentally, and technically, the boy's got the lot. Great first touch as well, and dribbling and flair, as you would expect, of course, with a Brazilian talent with 16 technique, 15 passing. He's also good at tackling as well. Don't think just because he's good going forward, he can't defend. He's actually got decent tackling. His positioning is okay as well at 12. Actually, more than okay. I would say that's perfectly capable. He's a technical midfielder who's going to help any team that sign him. Even the biggest clubs could use him as a squad option. So that's Gerson from Flamengo. Another great option, particularly if you're thinking about forward-thinking midfielders, is Ludovic Blast, who is new to Rennes, having signed from Nantes at the age of 25, so you won't be able to sign him in the first transfer window, but for about 25 million, his biggest talent is his ability ability to create chances for his teammates with 16 vision, 16 passing, 16 technique, 16 first touch, and 16 dribbling. Those are attributes at an elite level, and at 25, he's going to be going into his prime very soon. He can hit a free kick, a penalty, and a long shot, and he can finish as well. And whilst I say his physicals and mentals aren't the best part of his game, they are still super well-rounded, and you're not really going to find many that look better than Ludovic Blast. Maybe in centre mid, maybe in attacking mid, wherever you want to use him, this French midfielder is an absolute gem. You might not have thought we were going to have a Libyan international in this video, but we do. It's 42 capped international Ali Al Musrati, who plays for Braga out in the Portuguese divisions. Now, he has been there for a few years, ticking along nicely, and is now valued at about 25 million and wanted by Man U in this save. A 6'4" midfielder who likes to dictate the tempo with great strength, passing ability, and also the ability to tackle and break up play, alongside decent dribbling, first touch, and finishing as well. He is a very good defensive midfielder, but that doesn't mean when he gets the ball, he's going to be poor with it. No, he can distribute, he dictates tempo, likes long-range passes. He is a perfect midfielder for this year's game. Don't forget to like the video if you did enjoy and subscribe for more, but our last player that we need to cover is Xiao Nez, who for me, he's my favourite this year. I'm sure for many of you, he will be as well. £50 million, yes, it's a lot, but you look at his attributes and then you go, oh yeah, you know, he's in his prime, he's 28, 29. No, he's not, guys. He's only 18. The Portuguese national for Benfica has got such a bright future. And I think in real life, this is going to be a £100 million player. Physically, mentally, and technically, he is on another level for a player that's only 18. By the time he's 20, 21, you are already looking at a world-class midfielder. He's a leader at a young age as well, with a resolute personality. Xiao Nez, what a talent. One of my favourites, but let me know yours in the comments down below. There's some meta midfielders. Do you want to see meta defenders next? Let us know. With that being said, we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.